let's make lemonade. Okay. Let's go to work.
Stop! That's the signal! Go, 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 go! 6! It's beautiful! Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude!
Start your day with a jolt of energy and no-holds-barred opinions. This is The Rush, where Travis Justice and Ross Peterson bring you bold, unfiltered, and uncensored takes on sports, life, and everything in between. Buckle up and let's go.
Welcome to a Tuesday. It's The Rush here on TheRushRadio.com. Justin Miller hanging out with us here on another fun Tuesday, his last Tuesday in Des Moines for a little while. Check out my new Bats and Bugs magnet. Doesn't stick to my, probably shouldn't put it on my microphone.
Oh yeah, because you have, don't you have the Willis Auto sticker on there?
Willis Auto sticker on there, yeah. Just trying to get as much product placement as we possibly can here on The Rush. That's what we're shooting for. Good to have you along. Glad to have Justin with us here again. Final day in Des Moines for Justin. Final day out of town for Travis. He thought maybe he'd be able to join us for a minute today, Justin, but he's not. He's going to be in the air like the entire time we're on the air here. So Travis won't be able to join us, but we will have a Travis at 7:30. Travis Hines going to hop on with us to chat about probably mostly Cyclones, but we can talk kind of all basketball with Travis Hines. How are you today, buddy? How was your weekend?
I'm doing really good. Really excited. Head to Wichita today for the first round. Traveling with the team and the Drake Athletics department. So really fortunate that they were able to allow me to come along with them and help out, because I'll be helping out kind of the SID for pregame stuff, and then during the game, post-game, it will be all media row. But very fortunate for them allowing me to do this. It's very cool.
Yeah. New obviously over the weekend. You got down there on Sunday for the selection, right? Saw your media row podcast that you were down there. You got a chance to chat with Coach McCullum. Before I want to kind of move through it, but just kind of take us through Sunday, because the name's getting announced. We talked to Coach McCullum about it, but man, he's very much in coach mode. He's locked in on stuff. You are a fan. So what was that like, Justin? Those things to me, those selection moments, the ones that only matter to me are the ones where the bubble teams, right? They don't know they're going to see their name. What was that like when Drake's name actually pops up? Is there still like a sense of relief in some way, or what? How would you describe that emotion?
Maybe not relief, because you're in, but there is a sense of like a pinch me moment, because I mean, again, we go back to 2015. Drake has 10 total wins. They lose right away to Evansville in the first round of Arch Madness. Like selection Sundays where you're in, you have 3 Missouri Valley Conference Tournament championship trophies next to you in a packed Knapp Center never seemed possible to me as like a 15-year-old kid. Like, no, Drake just doesn't do that. But what Brian Harden has done and that program has done is turn itself into a legit contender year after year. And that starts by making the right hires at Darren, and then going straight to Ben McCullum. Like, they have made some great hires.
We had a great interview with Coach McCullum yesterday.
I saw it.
And did you see that?
Yeah.
Man, the family stuff, I can't get it out of my head. And again, these are things I've known, but you just forget it until you see a guy's aura change in front of you when he goes, man, I got kids. I'm thinking about what elementary school, which friend group are we tearing apart? Mm-hmm. You guys are talking about NIL and which kid I'm going to be able to pay $1 million to. I'm trying to figure out, I'm looking up elementary schools in Terre Haute. This sucks.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I didn't think about yesterday, and again, kind of dumb of me not to think about it, because this is a guy If I see Brian Harden on the street, I go out of my way to say hi to Brian. I know Brian Harden. I'd even say Brian Harden's like a friend. He's a friendly guy. If I saw him and his family out, I'd go say hi to him. That's a tough job too. He is, because he's like, my job is to hire the best coach in the country for this really difficult job, and I'm 2 for 2.
Yeah.
I have 2 hole-in-ones. I've started out my 18 holes with 2 hole-in-ones. And now I'm stepping up to a par 5 because I got to do it again. That's got to be a little bit tough. And again, tough is the wrong word. Daunting,
challenging,
losing some sleep. If Jamie Pollard said it a long time ago, and every AD does, if your job as an athletic director is to constantly be ready for that, is to constantly have your list of the 5 names you're going to call.
That's what I was just about to say.
I just used AI yesterday. That's what I would do. I'd be Beth gets. I'm the athletic director at Iowa. Give me 7 names, and can you give me the phone numbers for the top 7 coaches?
And then I would come back. Darren DeVries, Ben McCullum. You're like, sweet, did those. If they go, who should I grab next?
Right. Brian Harden's in a totally different boat on that.
Yeah.
You've got 2 guys. I mean, that's a.
You said, you just have to have your depth chart almost.
You got to have your 5 guys ready. You got to have you got to have your roster of guys ready to go that you've at least established some sort of contact with. Again, that was the conversation that Travis and I wanted to have with Ben McCullum yesterday that you can't have with him yet. Travis kind of asked him, "Who's holding the bat phone? Who's holding who is it, your wife? Do you have an agent?" Because the phone's ringing off the hook. I mean, it's not just idiots like us that are media guys wanting to talk to you. You're getting real phone calls from real people with real money trucks.
Yeah. Indiana is calling.
So who's taking that phone call? When does that phone call happen? How does that happen? They reach out to Brian first, speaking of Brian Harden. They reach out to Brian first and say, hey, we're going to call your guy, okay? Which is just a courtesy, but that's the way it should be done.
I wonder, has Brian ever gone, no, don't. You shouldn't. Please don't.
You know who we could? I bet we could talk to him and Troy Plummer at Grandview about how does that phone call really go. I bet both of those guys would be honest with us, because my gut tells me, Justin, it's a lot more like that than we would want to believe. That it's still 2 human beings having a conversation. It's not robots. You don't go, hello, this is athletic director from Indiana. We are attempting to contact Ben McCullum. And, it's a guy that goes, hey, Brian, how you doing? Or a lady. Hey, just want to let you know, as you know, we're looking for coaches. We're interested in Ben, and we're just calling you first to see, what that process looks like. How do we're going to reach out to him. I would imagine Brian Harden goes, nah, you know what? I think I'm going to pass on that. And they both kind of chuckle. You kind of chuckle again. We really like him here. We really like him here. And by the way, we're a private university, so you can't Google what our buyout is, so we're just going to tell you.
That's true. I didn't even think about that part.
We're just going to tell you that you owe us a lot of money if you're going to make these phone calls and make this thing happen. But each one of those, and then I imagine the conversation's different with Troy Plummer. But how? And then there's levels to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's levels to how that happens and how those phone calls come in, and I would imagine. Dude, because think about Grandview just went through this with Woodley. Drake is going through it right now. Drake just went through it with Stepsis, and then both angles of it, where Brian Harden had to get that phone call from you and I that said, "Hey, we're coming to get your guy."
Mm-hmm.
And then he had to make a phone call across town to his buddy, Troy Plummer, and say, hey, I'm coming to get your guy. And there's got to be a part of you that says, no, man, he likes it here. He likes it here. He built it here. A name that gets thrown out every once in a while when we're talking wrestling, because the people are not happy with how the brands are doing. And a lot of people are yelling for Schwab to get that job that you and I coached to move down to Iowa City. And every now and again, somebody goes, how come nobody's mentioning Nick Mitchell? Nick Mitchell's the head coach at Grandview who's won like 14 of 15 national titles. It's unbelievable. They have rings for toes. I'm not kidding. They have rings for toes.
That's
and
a good line.
And he's in his 40s. It's unreal what they've done. And they go, well, how come nobody's made the phone call? They have. The phone calls come. I just am curious. I think it goes like that. Hey, Troy, we're thinking about calling Coach Mitchell. Man, he's our guy. We're thinking about calling Coach Woodley. You mean the family that built my program? Sure. Yeah, you can come get him, but man, he loves it here. That's how I think that conversation goes. Is your own athletic director? If he's got you, he kind of sells you a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. He's a great coach. You're gonna love him, but man, he loves it here because then that ups it. If the guy goes, oh dude, we've been waiting for this phone call. We can't wait to get rid of this guy.
Yeah. Can you play reverse like psychology? Be like, oh, thank God.
Oh, Justin.
And then the guy's like, ooh.
You're evil, and I like it.
Thank
God. God you're calling. Man, we've been trying to figure out how to fire this guy. You're going to hire him? This is amazing. You just want to trade?
Maybe. But I still don't think it would work. Imagine trying to do that, and they're like, oh, you're trying to fire the 30-3 guy? Okay, sure. Yeah, let's just trade.
Right. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. We'll wait for you to fire him, then we'll hire him.
Yeah.
So where are you right now with the McCullum stuff? You are, speaking of that, you're resigned to the fact that Ben McCullum, you're enjoying these last couple of games with Coach on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit of just, again, I think it'd be different if I was a fan of like an Iowa State, a Power 5 school, where this would feel a little different. But as a mid-major, those guys that stick around, like the Jacobsons, that stick around at one school for a while, 10 plus years, is rare. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. It sucks.
On both ends, Justin, it's rare. I mean, look, we've seen you can make it to the Final Four, and if things fall apart too quickly, you'll be fired.
Mm-hmm.
And within a couple of years, you will lose your job. It's rare on both ends. It's rare to have a coach that's not, and we know Coach Jacobson has looked. He's thought about other places. He's had, I don't know if he's had necessarily offers from other places, but there's still commitment there on his end to have not jumped at any of these opportunities that may have been presented, and the commitment from you and I, and you know, I always push back on the we're special thing because we're not, but there is something that's different about the longevity of college coaches in this state.
Yeah.
For the most part, painting with a broad brush, coaches in this state stick around. Hayden Fry, Kirk Ferentz, Bill Fennelly. These are jobs that are in constant turnover at most places. And even a 5-year, 7-year, 10 years at a place is considered like that's longevity. We have coaches that have been around for 20 plus.
And that is really unique. And I mean, you could put in how long have the Brands been at Iowa too?
And I mean, look at the connection. Maybe that's it, Justin. Maybe because even TJ, and I know you can't put TJ in that list yet because he just hasn't been there long enough. But it's a longer tenure than the coaching thing. His Wikipedia page says he's been the head coach for X number of years, right?
Yeah.
We as fans know that name or know that person for decades. Brands is a great example. How long have the Brands been? Well, even when they were at Virginia Tech, they were technically, I mean, right? You go, how long have the Brands been with Iowa? Since the 80s? Since the 80s. They might have taken a little bit of time off to wear the Olympic rings and some other colors. They've been Hawkeyes since the 80s. How long's TJ Altenberger been at Iowa State? Since Fred?
Yeah.
Since Fred?
Yeah, that's how you feel.
Yeah. Well, didn't he take some time off? Nah.
UNLV?
Yes,
No.
South Dakota State. Yes, he was head coach of those other places. Wouldn't he always being drawn here? And I mean, and didn't even go to school, but there's a connection that happens there that's deeper than just being the coach.
But
if
life
I
of
wanna,
a mid-major, like we're just saying, always have to have that Rolodex ready to go and try to grab someone, because it's tough to keep someone as talented as a Ben McCullum. It's hard to be like, hey, we know we don't have the abilities that an Indiana does.
You don't, when you say we don't have the money, that's what we're talking. We're talking about salary. That is all it is. It wouldn't matter if you were playing at the East High gym. If you were paying a coach $9 million a year, you'd have one of the best jobs in America.
Yeah.
Right? This thing of like, oh man, would you rather would you rather be the coach at Indiana or Iowa State?
You're like,
Indiana's got a lot of money.
Indiana, like, again, that's what I mean. Like the NIL stuff now coming into play, you know they have more funding. Indiana does than an Iowa State. You would like, I would think.
Listen, I'm telling everybody, back up on slow down with all of your hypotheses and your premises on this NIL stuff. I've said this from the word go. Like, I want to go back 5 years ago. Nick Saban is standing in front of Congress telling them, if you let me pay players, I'm going to kill everybody. You guys, you don't want to let this happen because I will dominate the world. I'll dominate the college football landscape. What he was really saying was, you guys got to stop this thing or I lose control. Okay? Everybody thought Alabama was going to be king dingaling when it came to NIL and paying all the players and getting all the talent. Turns out not so. Then everybody said, well, wait a minute, Texas A&M, they're paying all the players. They've got all the money. But wait, they can't build a team. Well, Miami's getting all these amazing NIL deals. Well, wait a minute, they're not built. You got to build the team, okay? And in Indiana is going to be a lot more like Alabama. Travis has said it many times. Indiana basketball is Nebraska football. They've got and they're still in that learning it phase, I think. Changing over coaches, trying to figure out the right guy, looking for that Matt Rule type character that can come in, provide stability, longevity, and get it going in the right direction. And the expectations are off the charts there. The expectations are not win, it's win now and win the national championship. And again, we used to make fun of Nebraska. We'd go, what? You think you guys are barely winning games in the Big Ten and you think you're going to be national title contenders? It's very similar over there. So when I hear this stuff of like, oh, man, he could be the head coach at Indiana, I go, well, is he looking to regress? Is he looking to build a program or maintain one at the top at the top of its run here? Because he's at one job where he's looking at top 4 seeds every year in the NCAA tournament, looking at making Final Four runs. Sweet 16s are the bottom of the expectation barrel. And you want to go to a place that's like, if we could just get a couple of years where our name gets announced on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like you have guys like
me. And I, if it's just about the salary, then it's very possible that Indiana is one of those jobs like we talked about. You could coach at the East High gym. If you're paying $9 million a year, the best coaches are going to line up to take that job.
Money speaks. But you are right, because that's a good point, especially now, like, since we're getting to March Madness, this has felt like the most balanced year, of college basketball in recent history, of just there's no top dog. Look at UConn, a team that won 2 straight is an 8th seed. Kansas is a 7th seed. Like, there isn't a top dog.
The talent pool is crazy large. The talent pool is huge, and it's growing bigger and bigger and deeper every single day. These kids are more and more ready to play at a younger and younger age. So every year you've got a bigger group of 18-year-olds showing up saying, hey, I can play man ball. I can play this style of basketball. And you know, we'll get to Iowa. We have Travis Hines joining us at 7:30. So we're going to talk a lot of Iowa State coming up here in about an hour, 10 minutes, something like that, when Travis jumps on with us. We'll get to a lot of Hawkeye stuff, tons of Hawkeye news. In fact, maybe, Justin, let's shoot for that at that 7 o'clock hour. We'll kind of get basketball heavy, 7 o'clock. I got some fun, goofy stuff I wanted to talk to you about from 6:30 to 7. But while we're kind of focused on what is happening right now with the Drake situation, and you know, you watch DeVries come in, do a great job. You watch Ben McCullum take that over, do a great job. I'm not asking you to come up with names for Brian Harden. We'll ask AI to do that for us. What I guess I'm getting at, Justin, is leaning towards that Iowa situation, because if DeVries or McCullum at Iowa, you've seen both of these guys. You've got to start playing big level basketball. Okay, that, and my knock on Fran McCaffrey would have been that Fran. I didn't like some of Fran's antics. That was my biggest thing. But I'm seeing all these names hopping into the transfer portal. We now see Brock Harding's gone, Owen Freeman's gone, Price Sanford, I believe, announced he's out.
Yep.
Did Dix say he's in the transfer portal? I don't want to say that for sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
And I think a lot of people hear that and they kind of panic, right? I don't necessarily panic with that. I think that a couple things. Number one, whoever the new coach is going to bring in he needs the roster spots. We've seen this at all the other places here in Central Iowa. When a new coach comes in and he wants to take things over, he's got to have the space to do that. Create the space. And as a Hawkeye fan, I love Brock Harding. Love him. Brock Harding ends up at a Valley school. He's going to be great.
Yeah.
He's going to be great. Owen Freeman, I think, is the type of talent that can, and there's some rumors out there that he could go to, like, I think Michigan is one of the places that's rumored, and Gonzaga is another rumor I saw. Now, that's a big-time player, okay? I'm okay with some of this roster turnover. I'm okay with rinse it out. I love these guys. I thank them for their time. I'm glad they were Hawkeyes. Some of these guys wanted to be Hawkeyes their whole lives, and it's a dream come true. I'm okay with this kind of cleansing that's going to happen.
Well, you said it. Like, if you hire Tucker or Darren DeVries, you're bringing in Tucker for sure. Yep. You know that's going to happen, and you know he's going to bring guys over. And like every coach, like you said, is able to bring in and handle that situation, I think, pretty fluidly. Of you're not really going to have. I mean, look up again. Ben McCullum there was 2 guys that came back on Drake, and he just was like, "All right, I'll bring back guys that I was coaching at Northwest Missouri State." Same with, Darren will be able to do, if he takes this Iowa job, you would expect him to grab more than just Tucker from West Virginia. And you would expect the recruits that he was having to go to West Virginia to possibly follow him too. So yeah, I don't panic. I mean, I shouldn't say I never panic, because when Darren leaves and you see everyone at Drake leave except for 2, one who'd never even really had real minutes.
Right. Yeah,
you do panic a little, of like, that's daunting.
Yeah. We have no
and
guys.
It went well.
We have no guys. Wait. It's that old I was going to say Chinese proverb, but that's probably racist in some way. It's the old saying about the farmer with the boy.
Oh, yeah.
And the horse runs away, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's too bad." He says, "We'll see." And the horse comes back with 3 mares, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you have 4 horses. That's amazing." He says, "We'll see." And his son's out there trying to break one of the mares and falls off and breaks his arm. Everybody's like, "Oh, your son broke your arm. That's horrible." He says, "We'll see." The next day, the army shows up. They're recruiting every healthy body to go into the war, and they're like, "Oh, Your kid doesn't have to go to war. You're so lucky. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. Tony says, and I did. So Price said he is entering the transfer portal, but monitoring Iowa's situation. Great way to handle it. Completely agree with you on that, Tony. All right. But Tony, and I didn't realize this is the same guy. Tony also commented this. This was the comment I wanted to show earlier. If Beth pulls this off, she's going to have a ton of cred built up moving forward with her other goals. Iowa is better off and needs to make sure she's compensated appropriately. I've been missing this, by the way. I need to apologize so much to my friends at Willis. Oh, my gosh. So sorry, Willis Automotive.
First, you cover up their sticker on your microphone.
That's the other thing. The Bats and Bugs sticker, it hits just enough metal there that it can stick right there, but it's still precariously balanced.
I think you should have it on your chest. Or I did see someone say, like, you are Batman. Or someone did say it's like the bat signal.
Is it distracting if I do that?
Not at all. Not as distracting as you blowing snot into the microphone.
The east side, I could go full east side and make it like a neck tattoo. Do I look like a 90s graduate from East High right now?
You do. But you should
actually. I don't feel like neck tattoo. I don't know too many of my East Side brethren with neck tattoos. I do. One of my best friends, Justin, had a tattoo inside of his lip.
I knew a few people that
but it fades away it did not last long at all. Did you know that? Your friends that have those ask them when you're next time around. I'm like, hey, how did that lip tattoo? Yeah, just grab their lip. If a dude has a lip tattoo, don't grab his lip. That's a guy that's going to beat your ass. And I don't mean everybody. I mean specifically me and Justin.
Yeah, this doesn't scream.
We're not lip grabbers. That's not our move. It's not our move. Yeah. But this is why we have friends that are lip tattoo guys.
Yeah.
If you're not a lip grabber, you better have some friends that are some lip grabbers.
Tony says he votes the neck tat. He's sure that would help with the realtor gig.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. But listen, some of the realtors in our office are tatted up. Sleeve tattoos, I feel like, are a totally different deal.
Those can look pretty cool. Like they have a cool design. Like, I mean, that's with any tattoo for the most part.
I think it's the person. I don't think it's the sleeve tattoo, because some guys have sleeve tattoos and you're like, oh, you're still a douche. But then you meet some dudes and you're like, yeah,
it just fits.
Yeah, if I had a sleeve tattoo, I'd look like that guy. I'd be jacked and ripped, and I'd look cool.
I would have no. I just don't scream tattoos at all. So many members of my family have tattoos. I just a 12-year-old wearing a tattoo doesn't look right walking down the streets of Des Moines.
But Justin, maybe that's your thing. Maybe that's how you tell the world that you're a big boy. You get a tattoo. No regrets.
Not a single letter.
I had lunch with Corey from Bats and Bugs yesterday. Corey will pay for the tattoo. There you go. That's what it was, Corey. It was the financial hurdle that was holding me back from the neck tattoo. Thanks for helping me overcome that, Corey. I appreciate that. It was the financial hurdle.
There you go.
Would
all
you
settled.
If a dude showed up to sell your house? And again, I'm not judging people with neck tattoos.
Well,
but I kind of going to be a little judgy here. Like nothing else but a bat right underneath here.
I would think I was getting mugged. I would be like, oh my God, do you know the crackhead lady that broke into my buddy's house?
I'm going to need to see some sort of badge, Mr. Realtor. I don't believe that you're you say you are. That's not real. Justin Miller is with us till 8 o'clock this morning. Travis just is not going to join us. He was hoping that he would be able to sneak in a little bit of time. And listen, this would be Trav if we were sitting here talking, all of a sudden his face popped up on my screen here. And if that happens, we'll be happy to have him join along with us. As of right now, the only Travis we're going to hear from is Travis Hines about 1 hour from now at 7:30. Travis Hines will hop on with us to talk a lot of basketball. We'll get back into the basketball stuff around 7 o'clock. I got some fun stuff I want to talk. I didn't even know baseball was happening like as Justin and I fired up this morning at 5 o'clock. Cubbies and Dodgers playing in the what?
The Tokyo series.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody knows.
It's regular season baseball.
This counts?
Yeah, these 2 games will count as regular season, and then they move back to spring training because baseball.
We'll talk about the dumbest thing ever when we come back on The Rush on TheRushRadio.com.
Spring is coming up, and it's a time for cleaning and renewal. Get your spring cleaning started early with a fuel induction service from Willis Volvo Cars. This service cleans out carbon buildup and other deposits from the fuel injectors, intake valves, and combustion chamber. This service can provide fuel efficiency, performance, and power to make sure your Volvo is ready for spring and summer travel. Right now, we are offering 10% off of fuel induction service, so give us a call or head online to willisvolvocars.com.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage & Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage & Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage & Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
When it comes to mortgages, no one is more trusted than Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines. With more than 25 years of experience, Gary has been Iowa's top mortgage banker for the past 5 years. With creativity and professionalism, Gary is dedicated to finding unique programs to help you afford the home you deserve. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank/Gary Presnall. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Missing a quality home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make? Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the Champagne of Bars.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's $25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge. Hey guys, my name is Mason Miller. I'm the Infinity Sales Manager out here at Willis Infinity, and this month we are springing ahead with some great deals. Currently this month we are doing 1.9% out to 72 on all QX50 and 55 models. Also this month we are doing $3,000 conquest on eligible models for the QX80. Stop at our showroom or visit us online at willisinfinity.com.
I also forgot I was supposed to do this, Justin. Oh, not that. Not that. Darn it.
Just end the show.
This is awful. This is
Forgot
just
to-
awful.
Forgot to just, put it.
Here's the other thing I was going to say. Hold on.
There you
There we go. You can follow us on all the different socials there. On Twitter, at Rush Mornings. Facebook, The Rush with Travis and Ross. And, of course, Instagram at The Rush Radio. And we encourage you to go to TheRushRadio.com. The app is out and launching. We're working on the Apple side of it, but I know for a lot of you Android folks, we made it through that 14-day test window that that Travis had to get through. A lot of things happening, man. We're building the ship one board at a time. Got some really cool stuff. Listen, we're still figuring out exactly how to give away our Caitlin Clark tickets, and we're gonna do something fun for this Iowa State signed basketball. It looks so small back there.
Yeah, it looks like a Nerf.
It looks like
ball.
one of the little mini balls. Like, how small was the pen that they wrote with on that? My goodness.
They used a quill, like back in the old days.
They used an auto pen. Do you see this thing? The big giant brown thing. That's like a tube from a pipe organ. So if you blow into the top of that thing, it's like a giant train whistle. But it goes.
Are you going to try to give that away to listeners too?
Welcome to The Rush at therushradio.com. Justin Miller is reluctantly with us here for a little while. Cubs are in action in something called the Tokyo Series?
Tokyo Series. And
yeah, the classic, well anticipated and publicized Tokyo Series.
Checks notes.
Cubs and Dodgers are playing a real baseball game that's really going to count on their real 162-game schedule, and they're really playing this on March 18th?
Yes, Dodgers up
Cool.
3-1 after they just blew up that fifth inning on the Cubs. But yeah, okay, so I'm a Cubs fan. I follow a bunch of Cubs Twitter. I knew it was this week. I've just been so blinded by bracketology.
Yeah,
that's
it. You nailed it. I don't think you need to go any further. It's not that this game's in Tokyo. It's not. Again, the baseball did everything they could. It's Cubs and Dodgers, two of your biggest names that you can throw out there, two of the biggest brands, most well followed. Hoping to God that somebody's going to talk about this thing and say, "Hey, by the way, here's what's happening." But by the way, you want to know why contracts matter? And why we talked about that thing with MLB and ESPN? Go to ESPN.com today.
Oh, is it going to be like the first thing? Well, I would assume. That one should be because it's live. Like it's happening now.
Huh?
So that
you
one.
You think so? Go to ESPN.com. Tell me where it's at. This is why contracts matter, Justin. Go to ESPN.com.
First
and tell
thing is Pacers beat the Timberwolves in overtime. That popped up for me.
Yep. Russell Westbrook had a great night last night. Steve Kerr made some comments about Steph Curry. That's third on your headline list. Comments from a coach. Pelicans lose. West Virginia snubbed from the tournament. That's your fifth headline. Major League Baseball is happening right now. Right now, Major League Baseball is happening. Your sixth story on ESPN.com is Cameron Brink complaining about people's responses on the internet.
Yeah, I have to scroll
Brink,
all the way down.
The Sparks put out a thing saying, "Hey, we'd like to get some of the men because, like at USC, people know this. At a lot of schools, they'll get like an intramural men's team to come and play against the women to keep them sharp and to scrimmage them at a really high level and high pace and all that stuff." They sent out a message saying they were doing this. Well, of course, the internet did what the internet does. And guys were like, "Oh, I get to come hang out with Cameron Brink? Yeah, she can back me down on the paint anytime." Right? Guys on the internet did what guys on the internet do. And, of course, it was gross. And Cameron Brink was like, "Oh, my God, guys are gross." That's your sixth story on ESPN.com. Guys are gross on the internet. Is more of a news story. And I'm not saying it's not, I'm not dismissing what her comments are because, again, they're just trying to get better at basketball and guys are like, "Oh, yeah. I think she wants to bang me." But again, that's news. That's the news story. Baseball's happening. The Cubs and the Dodgers.
Legit game, not spring training.
Are playing real baseball right now. Eighth story, Dion Sanders wants some changes. Dion Sanders wants to play an opponent in spring football. College football's not happening. It's a comment about an idea about practice.
Wow.
A coach has an idea. I'll talk about that. I think I like Dion's idea. Baseball, Major League Baseball. When we had this conversation about, well, does baseball need ESPN or does ESPN need baseball?
Think that just answered your question.
Didn't it?
It's
easy to go, well, you got MLB Network. You can watch the games. I mean, the baseball stood in their own way with all this television stuff anyway for so long. Why does this matter? 9th story. Bill Belichick flips a 4-star recruit. The 298th. I'm not kidding you here. I'm not kidding. I just went through the entire list. The 238th ranked player in the country changed his commitment.
Oh, to play for arguably the greatest coach of all time? I bet recruiting was really hard.
Story. It's a news story. I'm not saying it's not. I just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories deep on the top headlines on ESPN, and it's nowhere to be found.
You have to scroll past both bracket tournaments. You have to scroll, like legit.
Right.
That's what I had to do. I just scroll
Right.
past the women's tournament challenge and the men's, and there it is. There's the live game cast of Dodgers and Cubs. But yeah, March 18th, I wasn't thinking baseball. Regardless of seeing it.
I didn't know that little rant was coming. When you started, go Cubs, go.
Yeah, I mean, again, I am excited for this season. I'll be watching. I'm going to get, now that Marquee, you can have it as an app. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be provided. I will pay for Marquee for the 3 months of the summer that I watch it. Because again, my thinking last year was, okay, I'll pay the money for 3 months throughout the summer, or 4 months, whatever it was. Because by the time August hits, 1, I'm starting to get into that football mood. 2, we start to really figure out, okay, will the Cubs be in the postseason or not?
What a great way to look at it.
I gotta save money. Marquee's expensive. So yeah, it's $20 a month.
No way.
Mm-hmm. So that's why, and I was even talking to Megan last year of oh, that's too much. And she's like, well, think of it this way. You're going to watch it a lot during May, June, and July. So pay for those 3 months and then just kind of feel it out in August.
Do you realize how much, Marquee, everybody's doing this. I would think most people are doing this. Not everybody. I bet my dad pays for Marquee all year long. Because he doesn't want to go through that process of calling, canceling it. My dad's a wonderful guy. My dad likes most people, but sometimes my dad hates people. And I think that him being on the phone with somebody that he's trying to do business with is probably his idea of hell. Trying to make a phone call and cancel a service and then reestablish that service in 6 or 9 months and then cancel it 3 months later. No, charge me the $20 a month and I won't deal with it. What I was going to say is, for a guy like you would pay $6 a month and pay all year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you'd pay $12 more a year if they charged you $6 a month.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because it would look better. You'd be like, oh, I can handle $6 a month.
Exactly. Exactly how you'd look at that. And they make
$20,
more money.
I'm like, all right, gotta plan this out. Start doing math.
And then I got to plan my cancellation because God knows I can't afford this $20 to watch my favorite baseball team. For $60, Justin, you're almost to the point that in August, you could drive to Chicago, get a ticket.
They do play. So Megan and I were actually looking because we always go down to Missouri to see her side of the family for July 4th. And the Cubs play the Cardinals in Chicago, though, because we always like to try to go to a Cardinals game. And I always want to see my Cubs, of course. But now I'm like, ooh, do we try to go to a Cubs Cardinals game July 4th? I don't know. I haven't been to a Cubs game since 2017. It was the year after the World Series. So I don't know how much tickets are. I know they're probably crazy, stupid, expensive.
And with the Cardinals, it changes everything.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But-
baseball's happening, and there you go.
Cubs down 3-1, top of the 6, 2 outs.
You can keep us up to date on it if you'd like.
Well, now they just threw it into the bullpen, trying to get an easy out from shortstop. So we can stop talking about it.
Cubs
I think
baseball is back in action.
Maybe I don't get Markey. We'll find out. Stick around.
All right, some fun stuff here before we get to, because 7 o'clock, I want to get back into basketball. We'll talk about Iowa. The Darren DeVries rumors are flying. One of the reasons to hate the internet yesterday. Justin, did you see the thing a couple of weeks ago that happened at Illinois when they were retiring Terrence Shannon Jr.'s jersey?
Yeah.
If people didn't see it, so Justin's got the
All-time
Drake
fail.
jersey right behind him, okay? And they were getting ready to hang Terrence Shannon Jr.'s jersey in the rafters. And so they do the thing where they lower down the jersey, and it's got the big the cape over it, God, what am I saying?
Like a tarp, like a cover.
Not a tarp, it's a curtain. It's a curtain.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fancy name for a tarp and a cover. It's a curtain. They peel the curtain back as they go to raise it to the rafters. So, I mean, it's locked in place. This thing is mounted. It's ready to go. It's ready to get put in the rafters. And as it rises up and as the curtain falls from it, the jersey's upside down.
Could you
jersey's
imagine?
Upside. It's fantastic. Now, a lot of people have seen that story. It's a couple weeks old. That's not what I'm getting at here, okay? But if you've seen that, it's hilarious. And then they did the best. They have done a really fun job with it. Like, they've sold a bunch of merch with the jersey upside down on the T-shirt and stuff. They did a good job. They owned it. Said, "Oh, can't believe we screwed that up. We're moving on." Egg on our face, right?
Yeah.
I got one that's 1,000 times better. 1,000 times. We go to the Bulgarian Professional Soccer League, where
All the best news stories are.
all the best news stories come from this. This is a Sunday's league game between Arda and Levski. Okay, both teams are lined up at the center circle, and they have they're having a moment of silence because one of the Arda players, Petko Gonchev, had died. So the game starts with a minute of silence in memory of Petko Gonchev. Before the game ended, the Arda Facebook page posted an apology. They'd been misinformed and the guy wasn't dead. The management at PFC Arda would like to express a huge apology to the former Arda player, Petko Gonchev, and his relatives after the club received wrong information about his death. We wish Petko Gonchev many years of good health to enjoy the success of Arda.
Could you imagine being the guy watching the game and being like, what the?
I'm Petko Gonchev.
Yeah. Is that me? Quickly
Hey, you guys-
calling.
Hey, you guys see me, right?
That's crazy. How? Okay, who are you getting this information from? And how do you not call like family? Just be like, hey, got this phone call. Just want to make sure.
I don't know. And wouldn't it have been better? Like I see a Monty Python sketch in my head where it's like, we now, please, a moment of silence for the life of Petko Gonchev. And then you hear real quietly from the crowd, "I'm still here!
Quit saying I'm dead.
I'm alive!"
And then if I'm, what's his name?
Petko Gonchev.
So like, if I'm him, I'm also like, how bad in shape do you think I am that you don't fact check? How bad?
Justin,
like,
do you
I would
know
be
the
hurt.
story? Do you know the story of the Nobel Peace Prize?
No.
Oh, dude, this is a great one. So the guy who creates the Nobel Peace Prize is also the guy who discovered basically dynamite.
Okay, I do remember that. I do remember you saying that.
So what happened was he had a brother who passed away. Now I'm going to get I think it's Francis Noble. Am I saying that? I think it's Francis Noble was the guy's name. I'm wrong. Again, this is part of the story. Alfred Noble. So Alfred Noble had manufactured basically bombs, okay? His brother dies. The newspaper hears that Alfred died. So they print Alfred's obituary. They print the wrong brother's story. And they say, hey, Alfred Noble has passed away. They call him basically like the merchant of death. They say this guy's responsible for more human beings dying than any human ever. And now he's dead. But he wasn't dead. Alfred Noble reads that obituary, realizes, shit, this is my legacy. I'm going to be known. I'm not going to be known as an inventor. I'm not going to be known as I'm going to be known as the merchant of death. I got to change this. I'm going to create a prize. That's how the Nobel Prize comes to be a thing. The Nobel Peace Prize comes to be because Alfred Noble reads his obituary and realizes, I got to change this thing.
So what is Petco going to create?
Good idea. Oh, my God. Probably, you know what? And it's in the name.
Yeah, but we already have
that's true.
Petcos. Like,
PetSmart.
that's where I went right away.
PetSmart. He's going to have to come up with something. Better get to work, Petco. But what if the opposite happened? What if he was like, they're remembering me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to create even more dynamite. I can bump those numbers up.
That I had not I hadn't put the Nobel part of that to there you go.
I hadn't heard that story at all. That's hilarious. And I still think if I'm Petco, I'm hurt because I'm like, am I in that bad of shape that you don't think to call? You just look at me and they go, yeah, that checks. They just see a picture and they go, oh, yeah, that tracks. That seems like he was about to croak any moment.
Think about the person at the football club who got the phone call. Phone rings, answer the phone. You know, hey Arda, hello. Yeah, this is Petco.
Oh my God, guys, can you try to get my old childhood dog on the phone too?
All right, I kind of blew by some of these stories earlier, but I want to go back and touch on them for just a moment here because we won't have much time to do college football the rest of the way here. Dion Sanders has an idea for changing up. Listen, Dion probably has a lot of ideas for changing up college football. The one that he's out right now trying to push for, which I think is interesting. I have no problem with it on its surface, but again, I've thought about it for maybe an hour and a half here. And that is having an opponent for your spring game. Now, Dion wants to start to replicate the professional model as early as he can at Colorado. And part of that is, listen, we get together for spring ball and we battle with each other just like they do in practice for the NFL. But in the NFL, we get to bring in another team. And not only do we do inter-squad stuff, then we get to sharpen our skills against another team. I want to start doing that for college. Can I bring Miami up here and we'll have a spring game against each other? Again, as a fan, I love this idea. I would be interested and I would defer to some of the experts. I'd want to know what Matt Campbell, Kirk Ferentz, Joe Woodley, these guys that have been around college football a lot longer than me. I'd want to know what their thoughts are on it. But as a fan, Justin, I think this is a great idea. And again, Dion does some stuff I don't like, But for the most part, I'm a Dion fan still.
The thing I get hung up on though is the star players, the starting players. You don't want to risk any sort of injury that early on. And one, like, yeah, in the NFL you can do it because you're already making your money. These guys that have professional aspirations, maybe are even, if like Dion's kid, Shador, he's not going to participate in this if it was going to happen last year because he knows he could be a first-round top 5 pick. So, yes, on paper, I like it because it would bring more competition. I like how he's trying to get more professional models into the college game, but it would just be bowl games, but in the spring where you're learning your depth chart of your team because the starters and the stars wouldn't really participate. In my eyes, that's my gut instant reaction.
He got some feedback right away. The Syracuse head coach fired off. Fran Brown wrote and said, listen, the Orange would come to Boulder for 3 days because what he's saying is it should be 3 days, 2 days of practice and then like a scrimmage at the end of it. That's Justin, your point is fair there. Like we already offer millions of dollars of incentives to the teams, not to the players, for these bowl games. And we've watched as those have become more and more exhibition and treated as an exhibition and treated as extra that they don't want to be a part of. They don't, and I'm a proponent of that. I think it's okay for these guys to look around and say, "Man, I've given at the office. I lived up to my end of this bargain, and now I'm risking more than I should be risking."
I'm not going to ruin my career for the Pop-Tart Bowl,
and I'm certainly not going to ruin my career for 3 days in Boulder, in the spring, when you're going to be in the portal trying to recruit guys to take my job from me. Again, if the coach wants to do it, and this is what the coach is doing, and the coach is saying, "Hey, the guys that are going to play are you want to win favor, you want to raise your spot on the depth chart, get your ass to Boulder and play these guys."
And I know
play your heart out.
Coaches and players, they can do a scrimmage where they can protect themselves. Like I get that, but then also, how much are you gaining from that scrimmage? That's why, like, I don't see a lot of coaches jumping on this. I think it could be cool, but I think that one's just really tough for me to come around, and maybe that's just me being stuck in the college football tradition, but I really just think it's more players don't want to injure themselves. They don't want to miss out on future opportunities.
And the coaches, some of the coaches are going to feel that way as well. Yeah. What did you think about the Belichick thing? I did mention it, I kind of said it in passing about when we were talking about the headlines there, but it is a true story that Bill Belichick just flipped a top 300 kid away from A&M to North Carolina. Now, when Dion flipped Travis Hunter from Alabama to Jackson State,
Yep.
That was the top recruit in the country leaving Alabama to go to an HBCU. That's a whole nother level. That's 16 beating a 1, right?
Yeah.
But this is newsworthy. Is Bill Belichick going to he's going to make a splash. I didn't think it would happen like this, Justin. I didn't think that Bill Belichick would resonate with 18-year-olds.
Well, I definitely thought he would. I mean, come on. If you're 18 and you're getting recruited by all these coaches and arguably the greatest coach of all time, that coach Tom Brady has all these Super Bowls, all these NFL connections, you're definitely going to be persuaded. It doesn't matter if he tries to show up being like, "What's up, kids?" No, like it doesn't. He doesn't have to try to connect.
I was thinking, man, he's so.
He doesn't have to do sleepovers like Harbaugh. He can just be like,
you
want to come over and play for me? and then just kind of like sit there and show off his Super Bowl rings and be like, I can wait. Then you go,
Do you think
okay.
he has? So, do you think he calls Tom Brady from the driveway and he says, "Hey, call me in 15 minutes"? And then he's sitting at the kitchen table and he's like, I understand. You've got some big offers. Oh, here, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Tom Brady. Can you? You know what? You're more important. So I understand you've got some.
Yes.
Coach, your phone says Tom Brady's calling. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, the president called when I was on the phone earlier, but
yes, you
so
definitely
anyway,
do.
Back to North Carolina. Huh. Interesting. Justin is hanging out with us for another hour, and then he's hitting the road to Wichita, baby. We're going to chat with Travis Hines around 7:30, but when we get back at 7, we'll start to dive into the Iowa basketball coaching situation. News did not break yesterday. It did not. The internet might have fooled you a little bit, but it did not break. We'll talk about that timeline, what we think that looks like, and take more of your comments on The Rush at therushradio.com.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage & Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage & Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage & Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
Largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbocks to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels, there's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
When it comes to mortgages, no one is more trusted than Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines, Iowa's top mortgage banker for the past 5 years. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know. High quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
My name is Corey Allen, and I'm a recon tech at Willis Automotive. Worked here for about a year and 3 months. Was an express tech before this. I was in the automotive field before I came here. Needed a different change of pace from, the management and everything, and someone who already works here, who liked how everything was ran, told me about it, told me that there was a spot open, and told me to give it a shot, and I've liked it ever since. A lot of good people that work here. Everyone's willing to share their knowledge. Yeah, I would say that's about it.
Do you have a pest problem? With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's local expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly pest solutions at a fair price for your home or business. Call us today at 515-218-3400.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Got to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers.
Whoops. And then it's supposed to do this too, Justin. Just hold tight. Welcome back to The Rush at therushradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Rush Mornings. Facebook, The Rush with Travis and Ross. Justin Miller with us till 8 o'clock, and then hitting the road down to Wichita, heading down with the some of the Drake folks, right? You guys going to drive down?
Yep. So there was a charter plane, but
there is a charter plane.
There is.
It's happening.
I'm
You're just not on.
I'm not invited.
Yeah.
So they said it was too small.
You got to fly in the charter plane when you were on this. I mean, again, this is a little bit of a different deal because you're doing your Media Row podcast, and so you're not necessarily an employee of Drake, but you are helping the university, so they're at least assisting in some way. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's very similar to what I did. So my senior year, I did student radio for Drake, and then I was basically living at the athletics department trying to figure out what I could help with. I think I did stats for a handful of softball and soccer games and was just trying to help out as much as possible and gain as much experience. And with that, they were like, how about you come along to Albany for March Madness and you can assist us there. And it was kind of their way of like saying thank you for helping out. And it was really cool. And yeah, for my senior year, I was able to fly in that charter flight with DeVries and all the guys. I actually was able to get closer with like DJ Wilkins, Okai Jam Goose. It was nice to like get to know the players on a different level. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's when it starts to get a lot of fun. You start to lose some of that objectivity because you start to understand the human being in it, and then it's hard to say critical things about him because you're like, oh man, I know the guy. I've peered into his soul.
I mean, I don't think I got that close with them. I think we talked about NBA 2K for the most part.
That's it. That's a window. It's a win. No, I'm kidding. All right, so Justin, you watched both of the big names, the top two names that Beth Getz is targeting, and that Hawkeye fans seem to be really, circling the Sharks are circling around McCullum and DeVries. Seems like most people are still in Camp DeVries, and even though our conversation with Ben McCullum yesterday was fantastic, and I saw every time we've talked to him, I've seen a different side of him that I really, really, really like. Does seem like DeVries is the leader in the clubhouse for this job, and maybe just some details getting ironed out according to what all the smoke is saying. That's where we're at in this process. Take a step back just for a moment for me and look at both of these coaches that you've watched in just these last couple of years. Which one of these guys do you think is a better fit for Iowa, and which will have the most success at that Power 5, Division I, big-time basketball level?
DeVries, 1,000%.
Really? Okay.
And it's not saying McCullum. It's not saying McCullum couldn't. It's just more meaning I think DeVries is a picture-perfect fit for Iowa.
Okay.
And with talking with Hawkeye fans, they like McCullum, but I don't think they're excited by McCullum as they are DeVries. DeVries has also proven that he can play that Power 5, big man basketball, because he's beaten a top 5 team in Gonzaga already. He's beaten Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, who is a top 10 team. So he has proven himself, and he did that without Tucker. I think he had Tucker for Gonzaga because that was in November. That was one of those Thanksgiving battle for Atlantis. But against Kansas, didn't have Tucker. Against Baylor. So he has proven it. I think Hawkeye fans want him. And he already has... What I like about DeVries is he builds players too. That was kind of one of my criticisms of Fran. I think he was able to get good players. I mean, the Murray twins, Samford,
Luka
Garza.
Yeah.
But I never felt like he developed them, if that made sense. I felt like the Murrays
think that's
were
a fair
really...
knock. Knock. That the Murray twins, they just became freaks. Those guys, they develop, and you got to give Fran credit for that, for the Murray twins. You have, because they were, 3-star guys, weren't highly sought after. So good on him for identifying that talent, keeping that talent under radar, developing it into draft pick, lottery pick type of talent. Okay. Luka, we all saw how much his dad was involved and how much that was off-season just grind from Luka that got him to that point. I think that's a fair knock on Fran, I really do, Justin. That we saw guys, man, I still think that Tyler Cook was my favorite freshman Hawkeye of all time. That freshman year with Tyler Cook, I'm thinking, this guy's a freak.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's going to be amazing. He's LeBron in a Hawkeye uniform. And then it was like it was here, and it kind of did this thing for 4 years.
Yep.
And I saw that with a lot of different players. You never saw that, Jared Utoff, man, he's going to be amazing. He's going to be amazing. He's going to be amazing. Hey, he got drafted.
Peter Jock.
Peter, like over and over. And I said Utoff. Did Utoff get drafted, or did he go? I think he was an undrafted guy, actually. But either way,
I think he was.
I think it's fair to say that he didn't develop these guys into being dynamic players, not over and over. There's a few outliers in there, and you can say this guy got better, this guy got better. That's.
I think DeVries does that very well. I mean, I think the player I always go back to in those Drake years that I thought developed into a really good player was Darnell Brody. Dude was built like an offensive lineman and really kind of struggled his junior year.
That was fun. That last half of his senior year, going down to the Knapp Center, it was like, yeah, this is the dude we've been waiting to see. He really started to develop into that. Where is Brody now? Is he playing overseas somewhere?
Yep.
Okay.
He's overseas. Roman Penn is overseas. And DJ Wilkins is selling, I think, some sort of like physical therapy type deal in Indiana. So those are the big three from back then. That's what they're doing now. And I think Josh Young from 2008 is still overseas too.
Yeah, that's the good. Okay, you answered that question emphatically. Like that, I thought maybe you'd have to think about that a little bit longer. You're adamant about that, and I think, Justin, you probably just surmised why Hawkeye fans are reacting the way that they are. What is it? The one thing that I wrote down that I want to kind of probe a little bit. You're right about Hawkeye fans are not as excited about Ben McCullum as they are about Darren DeVries. Is that a style of play issue? Is that a familiarity issue where we know the DeVries name? We know Darren's success at Drake much more. I mean, again, several years of success rather than one. Ben McCullum's kind of the new, we keep saying girl with the curl, right? He's the new hot thing.
I think
what is it? But you said the word excited. What would Ben McCullum have to do for Hawkeye fans to be as excited about him being Beth Gett's choice as they are or seem to be about Darren DeVries?
They would have to clear their memory of Licklider, because that's the comparison I hear all the time, is McCullum's just going to be Licklider. And I don't agree with that one. I didn't grow up knowing Licklider, so I don't really have that memory. But I also tell Hawkeye fans, like, if you do get McCullum, this dude's a proven winner, like has won national titles. We're seeing what he's doing at Drake. And if he beats Missouri, my first question to him at March Madness is, when do you finally come out of your shell and just go, this is easy? You guys made this look too hard. Like, what he's been able to do in his first year has been incredible. He is a proven winner.
I think that there is something about what you just said there, too, about making things look easy. You and I used to joke. That was one of the jokes we used to make, right? You would say things like, man, Ross, you just make it look so effortful.
Yeah.
I love
I can tell you're really trying.
I can tell you're really trying, Ross. And like that was one of our jokes about there is something to be said about somebody that makes it look easy. Because when we talked to Ben McCullum yesterday, you see that thing of, this ain't easy.
Yeah, like, it's a grind.
None of this is easy. Every part of it, even the part that you guys think is fun, negotiating multi-million-dollar contracts, even that part, it's not easy. Because it's lives and it's personalities and it's relationships that I'm affecting and I'm changing and blah 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 blah.
But I think his defensive style of play is making Hawkeye fans worry that, one, it would be just one side of the pole to the other of you had a coach that was all offense, now
Just
a coach that's all defense.
Did you see the stat, Justin? You would have been at the game, so you wouldn't have seen it. Do you know the stat that they aired during the MVC final, which was number of field goals with under 5 seconds on the shot clock?
Oh, I did.
It's insane.
Not even close. Like the second team's not even close to Drake.
It was like 280 to 218.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, I mean, it was like a 25% or 30% increase over the second place team. Yeah, it was a 30% increase over the second place team. This is like Babe Ruth hitting 60 home runs when everybody else is hitting 40. It's ridiculous that but that's indicative of, even yesterday he was like, what do you call it? I call it winning basketball. I don't call it slow. I say we play good defense and we take good shots. That's what I call it.
They don't force anything.
I don't call it pack line defense. I don't call it, slow basketball. I say we don't force our shots and we play good defense. And that's what we're doing.
But I do think Hawkeye fans see that, and they do see a slower paced team, and then they get worried and they remember the Licklider years. Yeah. But he is a proven winner. And I always tell Hawkeye fans, remember when TJ first joined Iowa State? Those teams were very defensive. Those teams were barely scoring more than 55 points a game, but they won. And you grew into
Exactly right. You kept the right guys around to have that big vision of, all right, if I'm going to morph this into what I want it to be, but I've still got to win basketball games to get it there. This is how I have to do that slowly. And that's why, again, you could say the same thing to TJ. Hey, how is this so easy?
Yeah.
Can you just write all this stuff down on a PDF and we'll share it with the next guy? We don't need to pay the next guy millions of dollars. We can just give him your plan. No. There's something here that I can't write down. There's something that pours out of me when I'm at the table, when my phone rings and it's Tom Brady.
Or the president.
All right, but my buddy Bill Blank, who I was hoping would be able to join us, but he's busy getting some stuff going this morning. But he did share this with me, and he told me I could read this. He says, the thing that annoys me about this Fran situation, all of these people are coming out of the woodwork talking about all the stuff that we need to do at Iowa to make the job more attractive. Like better facilities, more money for NIL, yada, yada, yada. Why weren't we doing that stuff while Fran was here? And why didn't we use this stuff to go to the next level with Fran? And I do think there's an answer for that, and it's the name that you've mentioned a couple times in that question, Bill. It's Fran. Man, Andy, on What's Bugging Andy this weekend, Andy said some stuff that I didn't find to be controversial at all. I thought it was, like a lot of times with Andy's stuff, very well thought out, smart take on what happened. It was connection. That's the word I've been yelling about for a long time. It's connection. Fran, I can't put my finger on what that is, what words he didn't say. I don't know. I don't know what it was that he was supposed to do, but the guy never connected on that level that Bill's talking about there. To be able to get fundraisers excited, to be able to get people going with NIL, to make it what a lot of people think Iowa can be. It's not. Iowa basketball right now is Northwestern basketball. What you need is somebody that comes in and does not see that. What you need is somebody like, again, maybe it's DeVries, maybe it's McCullum, somebody that has been to Iowa City and has it on a pedestal. Says, man, this place is cool. And I can't figure out why this place doesn't kick ass, because this place kicks ass. We need a new facilities? No, you don't. This is stuff that we've been fed by the NCAA bullshit machine, and we regurgitate. It's not about locker rooms. It's not about how new your arena is. And you can look not very far to find out it's about winning. And you can win with an old arena.
Allen Fieldhouse is all bleachers.
Right.
There's
right.
no
You
backrest.
You can win with a shitty parking lot. You can win with all of the things that Iowa has. All of it. How do I know that? Well, they're doing it at Drake. They did it at Iowa State. They do it at other places where the attitude is not, all right, man, if we can just, let's get the balls out on the court, guys. Let's make sure we wear the right uniforms and play the game. And then we'll all show up and cheer for it just because, damn it, it's the laundry, and that's what we're here to cheer for. No, it's not. And this is what you get. This is what you get when there's no connection. You're asking these questions like, man, wait a minute, where is it? If all this stuff is coming out of the woodwork, the guy got fired and everybody's going, okay, here we go. Where were all you cheerleaders before? We didn't want to cheer for it. I mean,
so I never hid the way I viewed Iowa men's basketball because, again, as a Drake fan, I loved watching just basketball. So I'd watch Iowa State and Iowa. But there was something in my gut that just made me go, man, this team feels easy to cheer or to root against. And it was because of Fran and growing up. And I never connected, like you're saying. Never felt like that's a guy I wanted to cheer for. And
again, like I think that it boils down to that one thing. And there's a lot of little things like Justin points this out. Our buddy Chad Lysko and Scott Dochterman do the Legends and Listeners.
Yeah.
On Iowa Everywhere. And Scott talked about a Polk County iClub event. Kirk, Tom, Lisa, they hang around. Fran, that's not Fran. That's not Fran.
Fran sat in the car.
But again, the sat in the car thing, Fran's not a dude who hangs around and kisses babies. And he never was, and he was never going to be. We talk a lot about that Drake thing with Mark Phelps. It wasn't the right fit.
Yeah, I had the same feeling.
Loved Mark Phelps, wasn't the right fit. Fran McCaffrey. Early on, it was like, man, this guy's not the right fit. And a lot of fans just went, hey, man, he's a Hawkeye. We're cheering for this guy because he's our guy. Yeah, but is he the right guy? You're not listening to me. He's our guy. And so we cheer for him because he's got that tiger hawk right here. Do you not see that? Is he the right guy? And the answer to that question was no for a long time. For a long time, the answer was he can't get it to the mountaintop.
And I think that's why people are familiar with Darren, with him at Drake. They've seen him in Iowa. He is an Iowa guy. He wants to be at Iowa. It feels. I mean, again, I don't know the dude personally,
right.
but
and I think
it feels
McCullum
like
does
he
too.
really wants to be at Iowa.
I think both of those guys do.
So I think that just makes people even more excited that they could get someone who has that killer instinct, but can still have that Iowa nice where you feel like, yeah, this is a guy you want your kids looking up to and cheering for. I do like what Tank, I was just about to say that comment. I like how he said the women didn't need new facilities. Yeah, they sold out nearly every game.
This is why I say all of these reasons, when you take them individually, you find out they're bullshit. All of them. All the things that we've been told, a lot of the stuff we've been told about the NCAA as a whole is all bullshit. This thing of, UNLV the other day came out and said, hey, we're going to be broke. 2 years, our basketball team is broke. Then why are you paying a coach $3 million? Because you have to. And well, don't you want to coach this? This is our problem, man. The systems are broken, and we refuse to say, hey, the system is broken. We got to reset this thing. Totally reset it. Instead, it's like, well, we're just driving off the cliff, right? We can't take the cinder block off the gas pedal of spending. So just everybody, tough titty, here we go, flying off the cliff. Take the cinder block off. But we've been told over and over and over, can't do that, can't do that. Why can't Iowa win? You know what we need? We need to spend $8 million on a new building. That's what we need to do. Yeah.
Can you guys give us more money,
Could
please?
you guys give us more money? Yeah.
We'll still probably maybe not win in March, but maybe. I do so dude from Iowa comments, Iowa seems to have issues with nepotism, need to get that out of culture. Agree, but also at the same time, I'm the guy who's like, Fran had his kids all throughout his time. But what's funny is I'm the guy who's like, get DeVries. Your best player is going to be Tucker DeVries.
That's a good point.
I have that same feeling.
I didn't. I liked Connor. And Patrick was a super talented, highly recruited kid. I didn't ever have a problem with those. And Jack not coming to town, or wanting to leave town, I totally understand. I guess I hadn't really thought about the nepotism thing on the in the culture over there. In football, there's no denying it. I mean, that's it's
But yeah, basketball, I could kind of see it, but yeah, for some reason, when I watched the McCaffrey brothers play, I was like, yeah, you're just getting those spots because of your dad. And now I'm watching Tucker. I'm like, oh, good for them. Look at him go. There is, for some reason in my head, maybe it was because he went to Drake. That probably has a lot to do with it.
Again, it's that laundry, man.
Yeah,
it's
you get blinded.
That we get blinded by it and start rooting for it. Jason touched on another, doesn't even know it. He's touched on one of my hot button issues here. He says they should start playing the games at MediaCom Arena in Coralville. Really glad that MediaCom is spending that money out there to sponsor an arena. Good job out of you. Just as good. Mid-American Energy, who is a freaking monopoly. You can't get energy that doesn't come from Mid-America unless you buy solar and but they're spending their money to put their logos on fields and give to those multi-million-dollar athletic endeavors so that they can remind us that we have to get our energy from them. and this whole the college sports structure around athletics here, where it was we built this machine built on all of this money that comes from us. We built this machine, and then the Supreme Court stepped in and said, hey, your machine is illegal. You guys got to change the way the cogs in this machine work. And they said, oh, okay, we're just going to put another cog. We're just going to add another arm of grabbing more people's money. We're not going to actually change the machine. Speaking of Mid-American Energy, that's the same thing that happened with solar and wind. Hey, you guys invest in this thing, and then what's going to happen is eventually your costs are all going to go down. And now we've got these wind farms up all over the place, and our energy bills are still the same. We go, hey, wait a minute, what happened to all that price deductions? Oh, yeah, you thought you were going to pay less? No, we made more.
I thought they would do like a Game of Thrones thing where they're like, no, winter's coming. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it will. That's
the dragons will show up.
Right. All right. When we get back, we will race towards this 8 o'clock hour. Justin and I, man, thanks so much. I know that today is going to be a busy day, and that luckily you guys aren't leaving for a little while, so you can hang out with me till 8 o'clock. But man, I really appreciate you answering the call and hopping
anytime.
On with us. Yeah,
I love it.
Travis Hines will help us get up to that 8 o'clock hour. We'll hop on with him next here on The Rush, on TheRushRadio.com. As soon as I get over here to my commercial things, we're going to do that, I promise.
Spring is in the air and the perfect time to take care of your vehicle. Your car has worked hard all winter. Now it's time to give it the care it deserves. Did you know spark plugs should be replaced every 60,000 miles on some newer turbocharged vehicles? Also, carbon deposits on the valves can disrupt the airflow of the engine. These simple services can keep your engine running smoothly, ensure you start every adventure with confidence. Visit Willis Chevrolet today and make sure your car is ready for the road ahead.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's 25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's 25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's 25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
It's huge!
If you have a pest problem with over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's local expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly pest solutions at a fair price for your home or business. Call us today at 515-218-3400.
Believe it or not, spring is coming. When it does, be absolutely organized with custom garage or closet systems from Absolute Garage and Closets. Turn a winter mess into a spring success at our showroom in Urbandale or visit absolutegarage.net.
The largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbox to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels. There's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
Welcome back to The Rush, therushradio.com. Travis Hines joining us loud and proud there right away. Sorry about the technical difficulties for you on my end, fellas. But going to be with you here for about another half hour. Travis, thanks so much for giving us some time today, brother. How you been? Oh, no, I can't hear you, Trav. Uh-oh.
This is my first time doing this. I have to unmute the mic. My bad. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Good.
great, brother. Thank you so much for giving me some time this morning around all the family stuff. I really appreciate that. Before we get into Iowa State and NCAA tournament, we were just kind of talking about this Iowa job, either DeVries or McCullum. Who's the better fit there? I think the broader question that I would have for you, Travis, is how good of a job is the Iowa job? You've got a couple of the Big Ten jobs that are open there. On a national level, where does this thing fall?
It's a great question, and I think it's a question that Beth Getz and Iowa are probably doing their best to answer right now. And when I say that, it's because the feeling around Iowa basketball is that there's not a lot of investment there, from institutional investment to NIL investment. And I think Iowa, as you might imagine in a coaching search, is trying to push back against that reputation that they've had. And I think a thing that happens with a coaching search and a coaching change is that usually there's energy infused into a program, and energy usually equals dollars. So that'll be the question, because if you look at it, like now in a 18-team Big Ten, is Iowa an upper half of the league job? I would say pretty definitively it's not. And I think you look at facilities and financials, it gets pretty tough. And what's your your recruiting base? You're going against what advantages do you have against Illinois and Wisconsin and the other regional powers there? And you look a little bit further east to Purdue and Indiana. So I think it's a tough job. It's not the job I think it probably was 20 years ago or 30 or even back to the 80s because things have deteriorated and the rest of the league I think has come up.
Well, you've seen a job like Iowa State go the exact opposite direction in that same amount of time. What exists in Iowa State? What exists in Ames that doesn't exist in Iowa City?
I mean, I think Iowa and Iowa State were obviously in very similar spots when Fran McCaffrey and Fred Hoiberg get hired in 2010. And I think if you look at the trajectory from 2010 in terms of success and fan engagement, I mean, Iowa has had its success. I don't know that it's had its fan engagement, but both fall far below what Iowa State has been able to do for the last 15 years. And I think that's Iowa, you could say, got the hire right with Fran McCaffrey. I mean, obviously the success early in his tenure speaks for itself. Success in the middle of his tenure speaks for itself. But it was just
15 years in this environment is successful.
Tough.
Yeah,
winning as head coach in Iowa too.
Yeah,
it's tough to sustain and it's tough to break through, and that's obviously the job. I don't think anybody's shedding tears for Fran McCaffrey. He did a lot of good things at Iowa, but ultimately not enough over the long term to keep that job and to keep that job elevated within the Big Ten. And obviously, there's apples and oranges here too in terms of the leagues, fan tradition and all those kind of things. But I think you draw that trajectory from 2010 onward, success and fan enthusiasm are wildly different between the two schools.
It seems like fan enthusiasm these days boils down simply to NIL. And I think that's an oversimplification of it. But is that true that, when people are looking at this Iowa job, if all of a sudden a billionaire showed up and said, I'll infuse multi-millions dollars into the NIL, would that be enough to raise that into that top half of that Big Ten? I mean, that one singular element?
I think so, because that in this day and age, you still have to recruit, you still have to have relationships. But if you can drop a bag, like that's 75% of the work, right? And I'm like, that's great. I think that's obviously players getting paid, I think, is something that's been long overdue given the money sloshing around in this industry. But like, that's the big question. I think also that in the coaching community, it's okay. Obviously, football at Iowa and anywhere with big time football is going to get the lion's share of the money. The University of Iowa has put a lot of money in women's basketball, and that has paid huge dividends for their women's basketball program. That's kept Carver Hawkeye, relatively interesting and filled with fans all winter long for the last 5 years. But I think if you're a men's basketball coach and you look at it, okay, do we have finite dollars, and do I have a less percentage of it at Iowa than I would elsewhere, because they are putting money into women's basketball, because they're putting money into wrestling like few other places will across the country. Like that I think are the questions. Now there may be good answers to that if you're a men's basketball coach from the University of Iowa, but those are the questions that I'm sure Beth Getz is getting from agents and from coaches right now.
Justin, anything on the Iowa job? We can move down to state.
With the Iowa one, I think it all too just boils down to, especially when you go back to look at 2010 with those hires, who had success in March. I mean, yeah, it really boils down to NIL to get fans excited, but also everything comes down to March, doesn't it?
To a big degree, and I think part of it too for Fran McCaffrey, the thing that set in early in his career was not only the lack of March success, but how those February swoons were absolutely killer. Yeah. I think to hit the perception of him and his program over the years, because it also coincided usually with him going viral for losing his temper on the sideline. And you put those two things together, and I think that makes it tough. But if you have regular season success, if you win a regular season title, like, does that immediately say what you do in March doesn't matter? No, I don't think so. But I do think those banners, those championships, and winning a lot of games to do that still matters to people. And it probably enlarges your margin of error there as a coach, or your cushion there. But yeah, I mean, you got to go to Sweet 16s. You've got to, ultimately, like, this is America is how I look at it. If you're not growing and pushing and doing more and getting better, people aren't going to be happy. Like, and that's the way this country works. And then college basketball, college football is no exception.
Beth Getz, does she have to get McCullum or DeVries?
To win the press conference, probably.
Yeah,
Are you trying to win the press conference? You shouldn't be, right? And I say that as somebody who sits in those press conferences. You should be trying to winning basketball games. Like, there are more than two people in the world that can take Iowa basketball and have success, right? But like, those are the two most obvious. Those are the two that'll get people excited, I think, immediately with their previous success, with their connections to the state and to the university. But like, there are more than two people in the world that can do that job. So
it's funny, Travis. I think I was falling into that, dude, and I'm glad you said that, because I think I'm looking at it as, you got to make that splash to get that energy, to get that NIL. But that really, what we're talking about there is the immediate fix.
Yeah, well, look at Ben McCullum. Like, probably wouldn't have excited people last year coming from D2. So
Great point.
that excitement is a fickle beast there. And now, like, you're talking about that guy, like, literally in 12 months going from Northwest Missouri State to Indiana, like, in 12 months. That's incredible. Like, so winning the press conference, like, it's great for that initial pop, but ultimately you got to get the right fit, you got to get the right person, and you got to win a lot of basketball games.
What is it that TJ has done up there? I love this word, connection. I think that's one of the things that Fran has fallen short on. And, man, with TJ, you absolutely feel that. But what else is it that TJ has done up there in such to make this thing so successful?
I think when TJ got hired, everything you heard from people around him and from him was how intentional they wanted to be, which sounds like a great corporate buzzword, but they have really lived that they're making they made at the outset a lot of choices, and now for 4 years continue to make those choices about the guys they recruit, the way they play, the mentality in which they do everything. Like, again, these sound like catchphrases and buzzwords, like, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. They live that day in and day out. They have guys that love basketball, that love to work at basketball, and are willing to be able to put in a high level of work for 12 months a year. And I think that got them through. I mean, that first team that went to the Sweet 16, like, we'll be looking at that thing for the rest of my life saying, how the hell did that happen? Like, that was not a talented basketball team that won a ton of games and went to the Sweet 16. And I think when you look at the rosters that TJ has built, they haven't immediately exploded in talent. It's been a pretty slow build to now where at full strength, this year's team not only has all those intangible makeups and all those, personality traits of hard work, grit, toughness, resiliency that they needed early on. They've imported that now with guys who can put the ball in the basket, dribble it a little bit, and pass it. And it sounds simple, and it is a simple concept, but it is incredibly, outlandishly difficult to execute. And TJ has gotten a ton of credit for that, and it's probably still not enough going from that 2-22 debacle, going 0-19 against Big 12 competition, to immediately the Sweet 16. And now with a team that at full strength, for a long time there, I thought was the best team in the country. Now things have gone sideways for a variety of reasons here over the last 6 weeks, but I think most people would look at that as kind of a lot of bad luck. Maybe some bad decisions and the way things didn't work out, but a lot, like a guy breaking his hand, groin strains, like not a whole lot you can do there. And they're still in, I think, a really good position to make a second weekend, which is all we're talking about on the other side of the state, right? Like, just get to that second weekend, just get to the second weekend. And now it's like at Iowa State, they might get to the second weekend, but they'll probably peter out. So again, expectations games.
It's the floor for expectations. Is you got to, Sweet 16 or bust, because this would suck if we did all this and didn't get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting to the Sweet 16 it feels like to me from Iowa State fans will be a relief that, hey, this season didn't go reach the ceilings that we got to, but at least we had something. Like, that's the issue here too. Like, this team is one of, if not the best Iowa State team that I've covered. And if they, like, what do they have to show for it? They were 5th in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They didn't win Maui. They went out in the quarterfinals of the Big 12, and now you have March. And now, to Justin's point earlier, like, what they do in the NCAA tournament is going to define this team, or what they didn't do is going to define this team. And that's a tough tightrope to walk, but that's that's March. And now, in the way that college basketball is, that's the business of this sport. And it stinks, but that's the way it is.
You mentioned how the season kind of went sideways for Iowa State, partially to bad luck. I think a lot of fans and people watching this team throughout the season will go, yeah, injuries to Milan and Taman and Keyshawn definitely didn't help. But you also mentioned some decisions. What other factors led to kind of Iowa State getting that 5th seed in the Big 12 tournament and to kind of make this feel as Sweet 16 or bust, or hopefully get to the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I think it's any kind of, like, when you have the injuries, like, I'm sure the staff's going to go back and look at how did we practice. And I think they're pretty secure in how they practice and how they take care of their players. And, you talk to the trainers, you talk to the staff. It's something they're always talking about and thinking about and evaluating. And I think you'd have to go back and look at that right now. And I think ultimately they probably don't change much, because I think this is, to go back to what I was talking about before, these are intentional decisions. They don't just, put together a practice plan. And the thing I'll say too about Iowa State is they practice short. It's like 90 minutes long. They're not doing big, long practices. But I do think, of course, you'd look at that. And then, do you foul up 3 against Arizona? Do you, should Demarion Watson gotten more minutes? And you can all go down the line. It's pretty small minutia at this point. And if you change any of those things, I don't think it changes the bottom line. You're not winning the Big 12 regular season with the injuries that they had. You're not winning the Big 12 tournament. Like, the one is like, how do you get to March healthy? And they have gotten to March mostly healthy the previous 3 years.
Yeah.
Just didn't work out for them this year.
Won't be fully healthy, obviously. Keyshawn Gilbert's going to be gone. The internet tells me that there's actually personnel issues there, Travis, that he's fighting with the coach. Obviously, I'm being facetious. I'm not being facetious that the internet's telling me that, but I see that stuff and kind of laugh at it, because seems very engaged and obviously it seems above board. And by the way, TJ, as you said, they've made these things, these decisions before in a much more public light. So, how big of a loss is not having Keyshawn?
It's huge. I mean, like, there's no way to spin it. Like, losing the Keyshawn that they had against Cincinnati is probably not that impactful, but that's not what we're talking about, right? Like, we're talking about how much does it hurt them against the team they were in early January, that ceiling. And it's huge. They're not the same team, and they cannot be the same team. And I think a Final Four for this team is unlikely. And if you would have asked me in January, like that's a Final Four team, that's a team that can win a national championship. I don't think that this is a team that can win a national championship. I think, we've seen George Mason get to the Final Four. Like this team could get to the Final Four. I don't know that they can. The question I'll have is that we have not seen them be consistent since the middle of January, since the injury started. Like, can they stack 4 games in a row of high level basketball? That seems really hard. I think they can do it for 2 games, take a breath. Like, maybe you can even win that Sweet 16 game. Like, who knows who you see? Maybe it's an 8 seed coming out of the other side of the pod there.
Right.
So you don't want to rule anything out, but I think the way I look at this is percentages and margin for error. And Iowa State has shrunk. Like, the path is so much narrower now because they have to play a basketball, probably, maybe not against Lipscomb, but probably against that second team. Probably it's almost certainly in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, where if you're getting B or B plus basketball, you're probably getting beat against good teams on this stage. And I think B plus basketball, for how good they were 2 months ago, that you probably still stroll into the second weekend for that. And so that's the way I look at it. If you play C basketball, you're losing. C basketball,
no doubt,
for that previous team, like, maybe it comes down to the last minute. And that's the kind of the way I look at it. And that's why the path just feels really narrow for this team right now. And like, we haven't even talked, like, is Tamin Lipsey, how healthy is he going to be? I mean, he just missed a game 5 days ago. So not only are you without Keyshawn, like, what level of health is Tamin Lipsey? And as we've seen so much for this team, all the pieces fit together so well, as if you start messing with them, things get pretty hard.
They played without those pieces, they played great against BYU.
They did.
That's as I hate to say, that's as good as that team can play without those 2 guys. But man, it's felt like that at times.
It's pretty close. I mean, when Curtis Jones goes for 22 points in 5 minutes, like that's probably as hot as a college basketball player can get. I do think, for the way that they are constructed without those 2, BYU is weirdly a good matchup because you can play with a little pace, which tires you out, but allows you not to necessarily being in. If you're playing Houston, you're in a possession by possession war for 40 minutes. Against BYU, you get to play a little pickup basketball for a while, which is not quite as tiring, it's more fun. You get to shoot a lot, you get to run up and down the floor. So it is kind of a strangely good matchup for Iowa State in that situation. But yeah, like, if you can get Curtis shooting like that, if you can get Joshua Jefferson initiating offense, from that 4 spot, like, yeah, that team can still win games. This is not a bad basketball team right now. The problem is it's not the problem. The problem versus what they were and could have been is that this is not a great basketball team.
When I saw the bracket pop up, Travis, there's something I liked that Michigan State matchup for Iowa State, and I don't know what that was. I've seen Michigan State play a couple times this year and didn't see them, especially that in Carver. They were not their best for about 30 minutes of that night. So maybe I'm still looking at it through that lens of watched Iowa State play a lot of great basketball in January and watched Michigan State not be so good here just a week or so ago. And that maybe was the lens I saw when that popped up. How does that Michigan State matchup? I mean, again, looking forward to past a couple of teams here, I thought that was a matchup that was favorable for Iowa State, but I'm probably looking at it through those 2 filters.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan State has been really good, and they've been, like, it hasn't been perfect all across the season, but it's been pretty consistent, right? And like, the consistency in March is so important, because if you have a baseline floor, it's so much easier. That's high. It's so much easier to operate, adjust, and be versatile. Where the problem for Iowa State here on the flip side is the inconsistency leads you within a game to make decisions that you probably don't want to make. Like, you probably got to go to option 2 and 3 on your menu of styles to play, where Izzo is probably looking at 1 and 2, right? Like, we're going to play one of 2 ways. TJ's got to look at it like, okay, I'm playing, essentially my 3rd point guard in Curtis Jones. Now I got to have Joshua Jefferson, who I like to initiate offense, but probably for like 10% of the possessions, not 20, 30, 40% of the possessions. And now instead of kicking it to Milan Momcilovic in the corner, that's Nate Heisey, who's played well lately. But again, when we talk about inconsistency, it's a guy who was struggling to crack 30% shooting a month and a half ago. Or you're kicking it to the walk-on Cade Kelderman, or you're kicking it Watson, who's played sparingly and inconsistently for the last few months. So like that is the issue for Iowa State right now. Like, and the thing that they do have in their back pocket is like Curtis Jones could go for 40. And like that can win you a game in March. Like that is an ace up their sleeve, is that they have a guy that can go thermonuclear and go win a game.
40 and what? It'd be 20 minutes then? 10 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that was really interesting to me, which makes sense talking to Kurt after the game, is like he knew what was a good shot in that game against BYU was different than what was a good shot against Kansas 2 months ago. Like he said, if I had a look, I was taking it because those two guys are sitting on the bench. My like sea level shot from 35 feet might be the best shot we get on this possession, where it wouldn't be if they're at full strength. And I love that from a guy who can make those those really high level difficulty shots. And are we going to see that Friday and then Sunday? I kind of think we're going to see him try. Now, like there is a flip side to that I probably don't need to explain if those shots don't go in. But when you have that ability, like that is a ceiling raiser. That's hitting the turbo button, playing NBA Jam where you take off. So like that is a thing that Iowa State has that few teams in the country possess.
Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead, bud.
I was just going to ask, for the Big 12 as a whole, who do you like, who has probably the better matchups on the side of their bracket to go further? A lot of people like Texas Tech, Houston, of course, being a top team as well. And then Kansas, a weird 7 seed, but you can never count out Bill Self in March. So which Big 12 team do you like to go furthest?
I think Houston. I think Houston's awesome. Like they're a really good basketball team. They're well-rounded. They're super talented. They're athletic. They're tough. Sampson is as good a coach in the country. And like, what more do you want in March, right? Like what don't they have that we have seen historically can win in this tournament? I think Texas Tech has probably not gotten the national attention it deserves for how good they've been this year under Grant McCasland. BYU is interesting because they can go put 100 on anybody, but they might give up 102, depending on how a game goes. But again, like you get these like 40-minute pockets of basketball against teams that are unfamiliar with each other on short rest with an entire world of distractions. Like that's why we love this tournament, is because so many weird things are guaranteed to happen every year. But I think, again, the way I look at it is how do you widen your possibilities as wide as possible? And like, to me, that's why Houston would be the pick, because they have the most margin for error. I think they have the highest ceiling too.
And they have grown men on their team. Like that's a veteran group. They've been here before. I always lean to that too when I'm picking teams. I do like Houston a lot.
We talked yesterday about that that Ken Pom magic formula. Have you guys heard about this? Where like 96% of national champions fit into this Ken Pom formula, where you are a top 25 offense, top 35 defense, something like. I mean, essentially what you're saying, Travis. You got to be able to play on both sides of the court in tough environments on a day-to-day basis. There were 9 teams that fit into the Ken Pom magic formula this year. 3 of them were Big 12 teams, and it was Houston, Tech, and Iowa State.
Yeah, for as down as the Big 12 was this year, like still played pretty dang good basketball in that league. And the league was not as good as the SEC. I think Ken Pom had the Big 10 above the Big 12 as well. But it's still the top of the league was really good. You saw Colorado win a couple games in the Big 12 tournament. Not to side, like let me stop caping for Colorado. They were not good, but the league was still at the top, really good. I think Houston. I mean, I think at full strength they probably have 4 or 5 teams that I would have felt okay picking to the Final Four. Like Kansas, maybe. I don't think they will. I think they're a mess. I don't think they're particularly good, especially for being a preseason number 1.
But it's a talented roster.
It's a talented roster and a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah. What do you think about Drake? I mean, did you watch Missouri much this year? I didn't. I don't know much about Missouri.
I haven't watched them a ton, know a little bit just because of Caleb Grill being on the team, the former Iowa Stater. I think for Drake, like I got to watch them in person in their last regular season home game. They're good. Like, are they? To me, they're not necessarily like that Cinderella prototype. They're a team that the game's got to go one way for them. Like it's got to be, they have to control the tempo. They have to make shots. They have to defend. Like that is the way that game goes. And can they impose their will on Missouri? That's a tough question for me. Like Drake's not super athletic. They're not going to play fast. They shoot it well, and they're probably going to be in the game because it's going to be low possession. But I think those low possession games can be a grind against bigger, faster, stronger teams like Missouri is going to be. And they're going to have to probably catch lightning in a bottle a little bit. I think they need Sturtz to be awesome, but he's a guy that seems as steady as you find in college basketball. But, shot goes in, shot goes out. Like a lot of times that's what it comes down to. I think Drake's going to get their shots. They're going to get looks against Missouri. Does the ball go in the basket?
That matchup, it's a tough thing to replicate in practice. We're going to get a bunch of giant athletic dudes that can sprint up and down the court to get you ready for this.
And Drake hasn't seen that since November, right? Like they've played Missouri Valley teams now since, obviously all winter long.
Good teams, but Missouri has a different level of athlete. Yeah,
it's just
there's a reason deal. The SEC got 14 teams into the tournament. I do like the matchup though for Drake, just because you talk about the pace. I looked this up in possessions per 40 minutes. Missouri averages 68.2 and Drake averages 68.6. So both like that slower pace style.
Wow.
So that gives me a little bit of confidence as a person covering Drake. But man, SEC teams, they look like they're playing a different sport. Like bouncing back from the tournament to the Big Ten tournament. Yeah.
Travis, are you going up to Milwaukee?
I will be there, leaving bright and early tomorrow. Eugene Rapé, my colleague, and I will be on the road. I don't think we'll probably stop to get our spotted cow till we're on our way back, but we'll be up there.
All right,
so
travel
I
safe,
taking
buddy.
Orders. So
raspberry tart is my favorite of theirs. But all right, take care, brother. Great to have you along. Thank you so much for joining us.
See you, Trav.
Travis Hines, man, thanks. That's good stuff. And Travis, just a good basketball mind to bounce stuff off of. In general, not just Iowa State, which he gets paid to kind of cover and evaluate. Fun guy to talk to about all sorts of stuff. Travis is a smart dude, so thanks so much for that. Justin, thank you so much for getting up early with me again this morning, having fun. Let's see. So what I don't want to necessarily impose on you, but we're probably going to have you be our live correspondent down at in Wichita. Okay?
Absolutely, would love to.
Thursday night tip-off.
6:35.
Right? 6:35
on True TV, home of Impractical Jokers 24/7
and March Madness. Impractical Jokers and March Madness. I love it. But Justin had one of those moments right before we came on where Justin reminded me of his age and my age because we were talking about True TV and Justin was like, "Oh man, I just remember as a kid like falling asleep and you'd wake up in the middle of the night and George Lopez would be on TV.
On Nickelodeon, the intro song, it would like blare and you'd wake up. And now now covering NCAA games, like you fall asleep and you'll wake up to True TV blaring the Impractical
Justin,
Jokers.
For me, that what you're describing there was actually infomercials. You'd wake up in the middle of the night and you would hear Freedom Rock. Freedom Rock was like a compilation CD.
Oh, yeah.
With, all right now, like a bunch of 70s, Freedom Rock.
I just think of the Saturday Night Live.
Is that Freedom Rock? Yeah. Well, turn it up, man. Travel safe,
mine
my
was
friend.
George Lopez. I will. Thank you again.
Travel safe. Justin, big thank you for coming in and hanging out with us while Travis was gone. Travis will be back with us again tomorrow. Don't forget, you can always download the podcast, tell your friends about it. We are trying to be as active as we can on the socials. Travis and I both living our lives out here, doing our thing. You can follow us on Twitter at Rush Mornings, Facebook, The Rush with Travis and Ross, and Instagram. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage & Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage & Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage & Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know, high quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Spring is coming up, and it's a time for cleaning and renewal. Get your spring cleaning started early with a fuel induction service from Land Rover Des Moines. This service cleans out carbon buildup and other deposits from the fuel injectors, intake valves, and combustion chambers. This service can improve fuel efficiency, performance, and power to make sure your Land Rover is ready for spring and summer travel. Right now, we are offering 10% off a fuel induction service, so give us a call or head online to LandRoverDesMoines.com.